Chairman of the Board of Investments, Sanajaya Mohottala. Thank you for joining us this evening, Sanjaya.
Thank you for having me.
Sanjaya, what would you say are the country's FDI prospects given the situation in the world?
I would say the prospects are quite good despite the challenges we see globally. Why do I say that? The global FDI pool is expected to shrink about 40% in the next 2 to 3 years. But as a country, we have immense potential to attract a significant portion of this FDI. But we have to act fast and act decisively. Why would I say we have a good opportunity? Sri Lanka is in a location where close to about 2 billion people reside in a few hours of journey, whether it's Bangladesh, India, whether it's Pakistan or East Africa, or whether it is the Southeast Asia. So geographical location matters, and a country that can trade across all these countries without any hindrance. Secondly, we have a good talent pool, an educated talent pool, and a versatile talent pool. So that had led to close to about 1,200 companies making Sri Lanka their investment destination to export to various markets. And case in point being, if you look at things like apparel, we have moved away from just doing piecemeal manufacturing to designing and developing products. So that is a kind of the capability that we have, and that's an advantage for sophisticated manufacturers to, in terms of as a destination to set up shop. Thirdly, it's about the supply chain diversification or de-risking that's happening due to geopolitical as well as for health reasons like COVID and all that. So there's a lot of supply chain reshuffling or reorientation that's happening. So given all these things, we should be able to capture quite a bit of the manufacturing related FDI. The second aspect of it is the FDI related to the country growth. We are at about $4,000 per GDP per capita. We are planning to go to about $8,000, that is about 6 to 7% growth over year on year. We're doubling the GDP. That means places like Colombo will be quite more vibrant. A lot of infrastructure needs to come in, not just housing, nice hotels and luxury apartments and all that, but also the infrastructure in the road networks, infrastructure in terms of the power, infrastructure in terms of rail and light rail and so on and so forth, ports. So all these creates a very good conducive environment for investments coming. The third part of it is the policies, right? So the progressive policies that the government's trying to champion with its ease of doing business. For example, the reforms in the court system and the legal system that's happening in terms of getting a national identity, which is a digital identity, enabling individuals and companies to pay their taxes online. So those kind of ease of doing business aspects that's been worked out. So those all will make Sri Lanka an opportunity to invest, and also will enable Sri Lanka to capture a large share of the FDI flow.
How did the country do in 2020 as far as FDI was concerned?
2020 was a challenging year, right? So we started 3 months in a strong footing, and then COVID hit and we went to a lockdown and then a gradual opening up. In 2020 alone, we got about $800 million worth of FDI, that is foreign direct investments on the ground. So that means that's been implemented, cash came into the ecosystem and so on and so forth. But what's most important is even during the pandemic period, we were able to sign contracts for close to about 1.5 billion to 2 billion. So this is about keeping a healthy pipeline. These investments will materialize. Will partly materialize in 2020, 2021 and 2022. So that means it will continue to drive our FDI.
And what would you say are the challenges we would face going forward?
When you talk about challenges, there are two types of challenges. We have a few global challenges and several local challenges we have to work on. The global point of view, the main thing is the expected shrink in the FDI pool. The shrink is expected about 40%. But having said that, if we play our cards right, we should be able to attract a good amount of investment, case in point being India. The local challenges are it's about the expectation of the investors to move things faster. And we used to be a country that was able to do things very quickly. Case in point being whether it is Shangri-La, whether it is Altair, when those came in, the approval process and how quickly things happen. Now, the rest of our neighbors are also catching up. So we can't stay at the same place. So they expect us to move faster, be decisive, and also to provide the required, whether it's legal, whether it is all the other approval processes in a timely manner for the investors to move on. For example, if you look at countries like Vietnam or Dubai, if as an investor you go in, you sign the documents, you probably will get a place to even occupy within a span of a week or a couple of days. So that's a level of speediness that the investors look for. So we have to collectively make sure that we provide that for our investors.
Do you believe that our education system is bringing out the right type of workforce to cater to the rapidly changing economic and business needs in our country?
That's a good question. We need to adapt and we need to change. But if you look at what the policy changes and the direction that's been given from the top and what's been implemented, I see there's a lot of changes that's taking place. Firstly, in terms of the curriculum and the education system and our school system. The second part of it is the access to higher education, whether it is government universities, whether it is distance learning, or whether it is private universities. Now, all these has to be expanded, not just to allow the number of bodies or individuals going into the universities, but also with the curriculum. Some of the changes that's happening in this is that if you look at people like Elon Musk would say you don't need to go to university anymore because everything you want to learn is online, and which is true. With the digital drive in the country, whereby TRC to reduce the digital divide, anyone can have access to educational material and self-learn. Then that is the university part of it. Then the important part is the tertiary education. So which is given a new life by VTA and many other agencies who are involved in it. So all along, if you take everything together, I think there is a concerted effort to create the talent pool, what we need. Then the second part of it, or the third part of it, is the companies themselves. Especially if you take as a vertical like ITC, right, or information technology. Many companies would rather like to hire an individual who is good in his logic, who's good in his thinking, who like to think outside the box, and give the skill set and train them to the job, what they need. So that also creates a new and a dynamic talent pool. So I think taking all this into account, and with few foreign universities coming to the country, we will gradually move to create that talent pool that what we require in this country.
Bribery and corruption still holds sway despite reassurances of bringing it under control. So how does this affect our FDI's prospects?
So this is a dragon with many heads. As you chop one tends to pop up. But at least from the leadership point of view, there's been a concerted effort and a concerted tone that's been set that bribery and corruption is something that is not tolerated, and that is something we need to get under control for the people in this country as well as for the investors. From a BOI point of view, what we are trying to facilitate, and being a one-stop shop, is to provide those approvals what they need to set up the company in Sri Lanka in a seamless manner. And most of the operations, they actually deal with the Board of Investments, thereby shielding for some of the challenges individuals do face operating in any country. And this is not a problem that is just inherent to Sri Lanka. It is a problem in any part of the country, whether it's a developed country or a developing country, and it is an issue that we all face in this part of the world, in South Asia. But that's something that we need to act on. We need to take it under control, and we need to move forward with multiple efforts, not just legal and enforcement, education, but also paying equitable salaries for individuals, thereby creating that environment for zero tolerance, just like what we have seen in Singapore achieved in a lifetime.
And on that note, we'll be going in for a short break.
Oh gosh, look at the crowd.
Come this way. Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Welcome back to the show as we continue our conversation with the Chairman of the Board of Investment, Sanajaya Mohottala. Sanjaya, how crucial is the port city's development to our FDI prospects going forward?
Well, the port city development will definitely accelerate our FDI prospects because the port city alone, I would say it's the icing in the Sri Lankan story, right? So without Sri Lanka coming up and developing to be what its full potential, the port city would not have its legs to stand up and say, look, here's some new destination for investors to come in. The law itself is critical because what we aspire to do with the port city law is to provide that the freedom of business for entities to operate out of port city and encourage new business verticals that we don't have in this country. For example, financial institutions. I'm not talking about banks, but hedge funds, private equity houses, venture capital companies to come and set up their business and operate and cover whole of South Asia. So hopefully we can be like what Hong Kong was to China as China emerged. Sri Lanka can be that to the region.
Are you in a position to update us on the investments that are in the pipeline?
Given the size of the port city development, of course, many global developers are interested in some of the offerings, whether it is the hospitals, the schools, the financial districts and the businesses that's been built, or with the convention centers and all that. They all are waiting for the finalization of the legal framework, which is expected to be done in the next 1 to 2 months. With that, we will see many leading companies or developers coming and grabbing the plots of lands to develop and will come forward with their development plans for Port City.
Is there interest given the current economic conditions?
Yes, there's quite a bit of interest in the Port City because there are few very interesting and lucrative plots to be grabbed, and we are looking at a development for the next 15-20 years. So the major investors, the major developers, they look at it and say that yes, this is a lucrative opportunity, we're building with the country. So the interest point of view, in the number of discussions I've had, there's quite a bit of interest.
Let's talk about brain drain. How is this affecting our FDI prospects?
You can't stop brain drain overnight. People will return to the country when the prospects are good. So it is our duty to make sure that there's a vibrant ecosystem in development, so people to look at and say, look, being or coming back to the country or being here will give me equitable or equal opportunities as much as they get from outside. With the, I think one of the areas that we saw quite a bit of brain drain is around the ICT and the technology point of view. But we have seen many companies as they expand here, individuals coming back and contribute to the country. I think deep down, most of the Sri Lankans want to come back and contribute to the growth of the country. So I think as we create more opportunities, we'll probably see a little bit of a reverse of that brain drain. I think it's not a bad thing overall either, because if individuals go abroad, acquire new skill, develop a new perspective, and if they come back and do something in the ecosystem, and you're already spicing up the talent pool or by imparting that knowledge, bringing that know-how as well as the drive, the entrepreneurability and all that to develop or change the ecosystem. So any returnee can actually contribute for this ecosystem to be more vibrant.
In your opinion, what more must we do to improve our ease of doing business rankings?
As you know, ease of doing business is a scoring mechanism where every country is ranked relative to the others across multiple set of dimensions. There have been many efforts to drive ease of doing business and reduce our rankings. When you look at it, there are few things that actually makes a big difference. For example, getting some of our government services online, being able to pay taxes online, ease of registering companies, having a legal system that enables the companies to resolve the legal issues and disputes, so on and so forth. The list goes on. So what we have done is we're working with many of the line agencies, the relevant ministers, to debottleneck and find quick fixes for these areas which will move our ranking. And whatever we do this year, it will be only reflecting in 2 years down the line because the lag that has in the rankings. But if you take for the last, I would say, 6 to 7 months, many initiatives have happened. Thanks to partially to COVID. Now some of the custom processes are online, which used to be manual for the longest time. The tax payments and a few other things are brought online, is enabled, so you can actually do things easier. Some of the aspects on registrations and approvals are being streamlined. The court system is being debottlenecked, right? The number of judges being appointed across each of the stratas enable more bandwidth, no new courthouses coming in, so that the number of cases can be processed. We were even discussing to see what can be done for all the investment related cases. How can we fast track them, get to a conclusion in a timely manner, thereby increasing the ease of doing business.
Our final question for this evening: is the BOI really a one-stop shop? And if not, what more needs to be done?
We are getting there. Clearly there's a few more things to be done for us to be a truly one-stop shop. What we need to ensure for investor is that once you come into the country, within a stipulated time period, you can get all your approvals, all your legal aspects completed, because the sense of certainty is what they look for. If the process takes 2 weeks, a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, they need to know so that they can plan their investment, they can start their processes. That certainty is what everyone looks for, and shorter the time period, better it is. So we are working with the line agencies and all the agencies who are supporting us to make sure that time frame, the stipulated time frame, is certain, and all the activities can be completed within that time frame. And we are getting a lot of support. We are still in that journey, but that's a destination we need to arrive at.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Thank you for joining us this evening, Sanjaya.
Thank you very much for having me.
Coming up, we have a roundup of global news. Stay tuned.
Our story is one of reimagining. Reimagining who you can be, what you can achieve, and how SEMA can support you. As technology and digital platforms disrupt businesses, we are reimagining what the profession can be. We've updated our syllabus to meet the expectation of employers, ensuring SEMA-qualified professionals have the skills to make an impact from day one. Reimagine your career. Contact SEMA Sri Lanka.
Welcome back, and here's a roundup of global news. As of this week, global COVID-19 infections have exceeded 123 million, with the recovered numbers of patients being over 99 million. Former World Cup winning captain turned politician Prime Minister of Pakistan Imran Khan tested positive for COVID-19 shortly after receiving the Sinopharm shot last Thursday. The country's Special Assistant to Prime Minister on Health, Dr. Faisal Sultan, states that he is currently in self-isolation. The Pakistan Ministry of Health points out that it might take a few weeks to develop immunity to the virus and urge the public to not be deterred from getting inoculated based on this diagnosis. A cloud of 9,000 tons of space debris composed of defunct satellites and rocket bodies that are floating above us possess significant risks to the International Space Station and threatens aspects like weather forecasting, GPS and telecommunications. A private orbital debris removal company started demonstrating a new technology developed to clean space debris in the early hours of Saturday from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. It will be tested by Soyuz 2 rocket's ability to snatch a satellite and bring it down towards the Earth's atmosphere, where it will burn up. A federal jury in Texas says that Apple must pay $308.5 million to Personalized Media Communications, or PMC, for infringing a patent associated with digital rights management. The licensing firm sued Apple in 2015, alleging that the iTunes service infringed 7 of its patents, with the original verdict in favor of the tech giant being reversed by an appeals court in March 2020. PMC has other pending infringement cases against companies including Netflix, Alphabet's Google, and Amazon. A 7.0 preliminary magnitude earthquake has struck Japan off the coast of Ishinomaki, which is a city located 104 kilometers away from Fukushima. The epicenter of a devastating 9.0 magnitude earthquake a decade ago. Recent updates from the United States Geological Survey show that the tremor had a depth of 54 kilometers. Fortunately, local firefighters reassured that there was no damage due to the aftermath, and the Japan Times further revealed that the nuclear reactors in eastern and northeastern Japan remained unharmed. Lamborghini, the iconic car maker owned by the Volkswagen Group, reports that it had its most profitable year to date in 2020, despite a 2-month shutdown of its Italian factory due to the pandemic. Lamborghini's new Urus SUV accounted for 59% of the company's sales during the financial year. 7,430 cars were sold worldwide last year, and in terms of volume, this is only second to the 8,250 it delivered in 2019. After discussions with the International Olympics Committee, the International Paralympics Committee, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and the Government of Japan, the 2020 Tokyo Organizing Committee released a statement revealing that international spectators will not be granted permission to enter Japan for this summer's Olympics and Paralympics Games due to the various strains that have emerged. Any tickets bought by overseas residents for the postponed games, scheduled to begin on the 23rd of July, will be refunded. A Russian national has been accused of offering an employee $1 million to place ransomware in the computer network of Tesla's battery plant in Nevada. The allegations outline the 27-year-old's intent to use the ransomware to steal company secrets for extortion. He pleaded guilty on Thursday in Reno, Nevada. And that's all we have for you this week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.